Yeah.
Go. Here we go.
Can you let them all in, please?
Yep, they're coming.
I
All
gotta try
four.
my chat box. Hey, we're here, everybody.
All right. Looks like we have everybody coming in.
Beautiful.
Doing it. Hold on a second. We're getting there.
You got to create the atmosphere of suspense. You know what I mean? That's what it is.
Michael,
So
first pitch is a little late, but it's throwing you
that's
the
it. It happens
ball.
all the time, Nick. Game scheduled to start at 6:40. It starts at 6:44. You know what I mean? No one complains. If they do, they're taken out and beaten. Come
I
on.
gotta share my screen, and I'm trying to do that right now. Hold on.
There you
All
go,
right.
Mr. Wallace.
All right.
There we
Good
go.
stuff. All right.
There we go. Now we got it.
We're a finely oiled machine right here.
Pull this over
I'm
from the
just going to go to the car for
beginning.
a second.
Hang on a second. Here we go. I gotta move this out of the way. And we are ready to roll, everybody.
All right.
So is everybody
Okay.
in?
Everybody's in.
I don't
All
know. I
right.
can,
Hey, everybody.
I know I am.
Ed Wallace with AchieveNEXT. We were having a little bit of technical difficulty there, but we are still going to get this webinar completed today. I'm going to take my face off the screen here in a minute. You see Grant Wallace, you see our CEO, Nick Aracco, and our special guest and team member, Michael Barkann. Before I get started, I just want to make sure everybody can respond. And this is not your typical Zoom. You're going to answer through the QA box. So if you know how to find the QA box, it should be near the bottom of your screen. Just open it, and just so I know mine's working, chat in something about where you're from. You know, where you logged in from today. And I'm going to take myself off the screen now. David's from New Jersey. Joshua's from Hershey, PA.
Yes, Hershey.
The sweetest
David.
place on earth. There you go. So it looks like the boxes are working. Hey, there's our friend Bill Callahan from Rita's Water Ice.
How you
Hey,
doing,
Joe's
Bill?
from New York. We got people from all over. There's Carissa from Massachusetts. Oh, we got Brian, somebody from Southern California. Donna's from California.
Hi, Donna.
There's our
Alice.
friend Helena. So everybody's getting through great. So we're going to work through the chat box today. And I'm going to bring Michael on here in a moment. We're here to present leadership lessons from the locker room to the boardroom. And I want to talk a little bit about my friend Michael Barkann before I actually bring Michael on. And I can list 5 pages of his accomplishments in media, in journalism, in broadcasting. And I have just a few listed on here. But my friendship with Michael goes back to when our children were in elementary school together here in the Philly region. And I actually coached his son Michael Matthew in I guess it was 4th or 5th grade.
Should have
And
played him more.
yeah, he was my jump shooter from the corner, Mike, right? And and my wife Laurie actually worked with Mike's wife Ellen and Michael on the talent show for the elementary school every year. So we go back a long way. And then I'm going to bring our CEO Nick Aracco in to talk about how Michael wound up working with us here at AchieveNEXT.
Well, anybody who knows me knows how much I value relationships, and I've built a wonderful relationship with Ed Wallace and now with his son Grant Wallace, who's here with us at AchieveNEXT. And I had the pleasure to be there when Grant Wallace got married. And lo and behold, who do I meet at Grant Wallace's wedding but Michael Barkann? And so Michael is a longtime dear a friend, more than a friend to the Wallace family. And Michael and I sit down at a table and immediately hit it off. And what did Michael start talking about is leadership and relationships, not sports, leadership and relationships, which I found out were near and dear to him. And I said to Michael, I said, you have so much to share. Why are you not sharing it? These lessons that you've learned in all of your years of broadcasting and all that you've seen and shared on screen. Why are you not sharing that with all of us in business and those of us that sit in these leadership seats? And he said, I don't know why I'm not sharing it. And I said, would you be willing to share it? And he graciously has said yes. So now he's sharing it here with us and with you, not only on screen, but as part of the Achieve Next team as he continues his Emmy broadcasting work as part of NBC Sports. But also now as part of the Achieve Next team doing keynotes and programs, bringing all the lessons he's learned. So thank you, Grant Wallace, for sharing your beautiful day, your wedding day with us, because I got the chance to meet and build a relationship with Michael that's now blossomed into a relationship with Achieve Next.
Thank you, Nick. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, without any further ado, our team member and our great friend, Michael Barkann.
Eddie, thank you. Thank you, Nick, and sincerely, and thanks to Grant. Grant, you and Christina are a lovely couple. Thank you so much for meeting and getting married, and I'll talk more about those possibilities a little bit later on in the show. This is how I'm used to living my life, by the way. I'm in a box the entire time. I don't actually interact with human beings face to face. I am just in the square. That's it. So great to see you all this morning. Actually, I'm standing in front of Citizens Bank Park, which hosts the All-Star game on Tuesday night. It's been an unbelievable year. If you're joining us from Philadelphia or the area, you know what kind of year it's been in Philly with the 250th celebration of our country's birthday, with the World Cup coming in, and certainly capping it all off with the All-Star break home run derby and then the All-Star game. It's been awesome. So I figure, what the heck? I plant myself right in front of the ballpark, which is where I spend so much of my time. But thanks to Nick, thanks to Ed, thanks to Achieve Next, and Grant, of course, thanks to you. It's been a great partnership, one that I know will go on for a long, long time. I always wanted to be a professional athlete. I think if you like sports, we all do. And then there's something, a little something voice in your brain that says you ain't going to do that. And I thought, okay, but I really don't want to work for a living. So what can I do? I can talk about sports. That's what I can do. And so I set out to make that my life's work. And it's been a dream come true every single day when I go to the office or the studio or the ballpark or the stadium. I pinch myself because I just can't believe it. It is a dream, and I don't call it work. And my wife always says, don't you just watch a ball game with your friends and then talk about it on TV after? It's not really a heavy lift, dear. Okay, well, I'm going to the mines and shoveling it all out. So I've always been interested in what makes athletes' minds tick and the leadership of those athletes. And there's so much that goes into being a professional athlete and then being a major league athlete. And we've heard the stories of Michael Jordan. He was good. He wasn't great. What made him great? He went that extra mile. He disciplined himself. He willed himself to be great. The same with Kobe Bryant. The same with Larry Bird. The same with so many other great athletes. And I'm also here to tell you that being a professional athlete, there's the myth of the dumb jock. These guys are as smart as anyone you will meet in your walk of life. They just apply it in a different way. And it really has fascinated me the way these athletes achieve their success. So I thought, all right, let me look a little bit more into it. And then I thought, how is that connected to business? And sports is just like business because can you chat it out, Eddie? Maybe you can get sports is finish this sentence for me. Sports is just like business because. Anybody have any ideas?
Let's get some great answers here.
Mm-hmm.
Carissa weighed in that because it's all about goals. Why else is sports like business? Let's get some Q&A going, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Let's fill up this chat
Wish I could
box.
do this on TV, is have people actually respond right when I'm doing the pregame program. We're live. What do you think out there in Delaware County? Yeah, absolutely.
Phil said you got to collaborate and you got to and your team. There's teamwork, right? It's all about collaboration and teamwork. Anybody else that's got one more answer in here? And I've got one you've got deadlines, right? You got deadlines.
Deadlines. Thank you, Ed. That's who said that?
That was from Charlie, and Ellen said performance matters.
Performance matters, deadlines, absolutely. I'll finish that sentence. Sports is just like business because people are counted on to deliver. People are counted on to deliver, and they're counted on to deliver at the moment it's required, not tomorrow, not later. they're counted on to deliver now. That's where sports is like business. So if you're Bryce Harper and you're coming to the bat and it's 2 out, 2 on in the bottom of the ninth, you're not counted on to strike out. You're not counted on to ground out. You're counted on to get the game-winning hit. If you're Patrick Mahomes and your Kansas City Chiefs are down by
Oh,
6,
oh, but that's
oh,
okay.
well, you
Keep
know what?
going.
I can't go all Philly. You know what I'm saying? And we beat the Chiefs, for goodness sakes. Point is, you are counted on to deliver right then and there. Same with Tom Brady, who we also beat. But you're counted on to deliver at the time it's required. And we saw this yesterday. What a game. Argentina, Lionel Messi set up two of the most beautiful goals in the beautiful game against England that you will ever see. And guess what? He was the star of that game. He didn't score the winning goal. He assisted on the winning goal, but there were such beautiful passes. Like as someone said, it's like he handed them the ball, but he put it right on their foot from his foot. So I've got three stories, three leadership concepts about this topic. And the first one takes us to Calgary, Alberta. And that is growing through disappointment is the first one. And it takes us to Calgary, Alberta, the games of the Olympics in 1988. That's the logo of Calgary. And when you look at those Olympic rings, know that each color in those rings is represented in every flag of the world that participates in the Olympic Games, summer or winter. And this was the games of Calgary, Alberta, and that is Dan Jansen from West Allis, Wisconsin. He's just outside of Milwaukee, is where he grew up. He was the reigning champion in the world champion in the 500 meters and the 1,000 meters, but he came into those games with a heavy heart because his sister Jane had passed away literally at the start of the Olympics. But his family is one of 9 kids, and Jane was the eldest, and she was the one who had pushed him towards speed skating. And the family said, you got to skate. She would want you to skate. You've got to race. And he did in Calgary, 500 meters. What happened? He won the gold medal. It's a storybook. No, he fell in the 500 meters. I don't know if you remember this. It was unbelievable. Skaters do fall in the speed skating sport, but it's rare. I mean, it's way more rare than it is common. And Dan went down in the 500 meters, and everybody was shocked. He's on the world stage. He's the world champion in the 500. And so he sucked it up. He went home. He buried his sister. 4 days later, he comes back for the 1,000 meters. He's also the world champion of the 1,000 meters. It wasn't as strong a race for him as the 500, but still, he was the favorite to win the 1,000. And that's not a replay. This is not the 500. That's the 1,000. And Dan Jansen hit the ice again in the 1,000 meters. And you can see the anguish on his face. What did I do? What do I have to do? I just lost my sister. I slipped and fell in the 500. And now I've done it again in the 1,000 in front of the world. This can't be. So he goes about his life work and he gets his job as a traveling. No, he does not. He goes on 4 years later, the Games of the Savoie, Albertville, France, which hosted the Winter Olympics in 1992. And the host city for speed skating was Albertville itself. They had the event spread out all over that area of France, in the south of France, in the Pyrenees Mountains. And this was an outdoor oval. And this is the point where I began covering the games. I covered 3 games for CBS Sports, and it was awesome. And I'm standing just to the right out of frame in that photo. And you can tell by watching Dan that he is outside. So it's not inside where it's controlled, atmosphere controlled. He is outside. The sun is shining on that ice. And let me tell you, it's fantastic for Arita's water ice. That ice was the best. But for speed skating, maybe not. The back stretch in particular, the sun shone brightly on the back stretch and it made the ice really mushy. In fact, they put these mats down when it wasn't being used to kind of keep the temperature cold. But in any event, it wasn't good for Dan Jansen. And he failed to win in the 500 when he finished his race. And should tell you, I didn't tell you about speed skating. There are no heats. There's no qualifying. When you get to that line, you skate your race, and that's it. The fastest guy or gal wins. And when Dan Jansen finished in the 500 at Albertville, his name was in the top spot, but we watched it go down with every skater that followed him and go down and down. And forget about a medal, let alone a gold medal. He won nothing in the 500, came back 4 days later in the 1,000, and again, nothing. He said he thought, looking back on it, he tapered off too early, and he should have been a little more aggressive in his workouts going toward Albertville, but he tapered off too early, and he just didn't have the oomph, especially on a slower ice surface in Albertville, to get a medal. So now he goes about his life work, right? Now he's going and carrying the brief. No, he continues on 2 years later. You remember the Summer and Winter Games used to be in the same year? Well, the International Olympic Committee, the IOC, decided, let's talk about the Olympics all the time, every 2 years. So they shifted the Winter Games to be 2 years off from the Summer Games, which meant moving them up 2 years. So 1994, Lillehammer, Norway. 1996 was the Summer Games in Atlanta. Normally, the Winter Games would have been in 96 as well, but no, they shifted it forward. 1994, Lillehammer, Norway, and that logo shows the Northern Lights. And I didn't see any Northern Lights while I was there. I saw the sun go down at about noon, but I didn't see any Northern Lights there, the Olympic rings. And Lillehammer, the Norwegians were amazing. Here's Dan Jansen in the 500 meters. And again, world champion in the 500 meters. This guy's going like 30 miles an hour on his feet. I mean, they're in skates, I know, but think about that. Think about you go 30 miles an hour in a 25-mile-an-hour zone and you get a ticket. He's skating 30 miles an hour, Dan Jansen. So what happens in the 500 meter? Again, world champion in the 500 and the 1,000 meters. He doesn't fall. But several of the skaters, the ice was what they call chippy. It chipped away a little bit. Several of the skaters had fallen prior to Dan going and racing his race. And Dan didn't fall, but he did one of these coming out of the, like he almost fell. And in a sport measured by 1/100th of a second, that is enough to take you out of the medal running. And it did for Dan. So no gold medal, no silver, no bronze. So now he is truly down to his last race. And think about 1984 in Sarajevo, then 88, and then 92. This is it. He's married, he's got a family, and he wants to get about his life's work. But he also has potentially millions of dollars riding on the 1,000 meters. That's all he's got left. You want to get your endorsements going, you've got to win this race. And what happens in the 1,000 meters? Here it is, Dan Jansen with 1 minute, 1 minute, 12 seconds and 42/100ths. And he said when he took his hood off and he looked up at the scoreboard and he saw that 1 minute, 12:42, and it said next to it, WR, world record for Dan Jansen. And he won that gold medal. He got to stand atop the victory podium in Lillehammer, which was awesome. And I was literally about 15, 20 feet from him. I would have gotten closer, but they were going to arrest me. I couldn't get that close. But I was right there on the infield with him. And see that gold medal? And see, the Olympic Committee of Lillehammer actually found these cave drawings from thousands of years ago. And they took the cave drawings and by computer, they turned them into Olympic figures. And what you're seeing on his medal is the speed skating cave drawing. A little bit weird, but it worked for them. Also, part of the medal was made out of granite that they used when they dug up the site for the Viking ship, as it was called, the oval where they skated. So there he is, but this is the best. This is Dan Jansen skating around the oval in victory with his daughter Jane, named after his sister Jane. You talk about coming full circle. I'm getting chills just thinking about it and talking about it. And Jane, you ready for this? She's an infant there. She got married a couple of years ago. That's how it goes like that, right? Doesn't it go? That's how fast it goes.
Yep.
So Dan Jansen's story is it really is timeless. And the beauty of that, Ed, as we watched him, as I watched him skate around, he was on Letterman that night, did the top 10 list. They partied like, I didn't partake in the party, of course, but they partied like animals. It was unbelievable. Yes, Ed, you were going to ask.
Michael, just to let you take a breath for a minute and to get everybody, doing some QA here, you can make a comment on the Dan Jansen story in the QA box, or something in your own life that you feel comfortable sharing, or someone who overcame something that was insurmountable odds, that they grew through disappointment. Dan Jansen took all those years working out every single day. We go through that in business every single day. So chat in something, and somebody already chatted in Rocky. So
Rocky.
he was a fictional character, my friends, but somebody sent Rocky through. But
But Dan has skated up the art museum steps. It was a tough thing to do with those 12-inch blades. But thank you, Ed, because I buried the lead. I'll let you get to back to the comments again. Growth through disappointment. We all get smacked in the chops in our daily lives. At the office, a project doesn't get in time. We don't get the promotion we want. We don't get the pay raise we want. We don't get a lot of things. But we've got to stay the course and stay with it. And here's a guy who stayed the course, not just for 2 years, not just for 4 years, but for 10 years. He just kept coming back because he said, you know what? I'm the best and I need to prove it right now. And he did, but it took a while. And I can't begin to tell you how much pride I have for what he did. I'm sorry, Eddie. Go ahead.
So I got
Taking up
Rocky.
all the time.
I got Rocky. I have
Rocky.
a couple of movie things here, but then does anybody have anything from business or their own life they want a Q&A in here real quick before we move to the next one? I thought the Rocky one was kind of funny.
They're successful. That's why they want to be more successful. They don't have disappointment. Well, maybe a little bit.
By the way, while we're waiting for a couple of answers, what did you ask the coach of Dan Jansen when you interviewed him? I thought you asked him.
Thanks for reminding me of that, Ed. One of the most humiliating experiences of my life. So Dan Jansen, after the 500 meters in Lillehammer, he was despondent, and I was on the infield, and I tried to talk, Dan, will you do Dan? And he just blew by me. And he and I are still friendly today. In fact, next year I think he's going to play in our charity golf outing. More on that later.
Be there.
Yeah.
I got a couple of answers. Gina chatted and she said, it's hard to know though when a pursuit that's coming at you's cost is really high, right? You don't really know whether the disappointment's going to happen or not. And Dominic said, clarity in your mission, and that's a great example of what Dan Jansen had. He through all the things, and everybody on here has gone through personal tragedy, and we all handle it differently. Here's a guy that it absolutely affected him. It's not the in '88. It's not the storybook where he overcame his sister's passing and won the gold medal. No, that didn't happen for many years later. So we've all got these things, and Michael's second principle, I think, will help add more clarity about being there. Michael, why don't you take it from here?
Absolutely, but whomever said clarity and mission, I love that. Clarity and mission, because when you have clarity and mission in your mission, whatever happens, whatever people, you got to believe in yourself. You have to have that clarity yourself, and when you do, that leads you to success. The second one is be there. Not just be there. We all say, hey, be there. No, be there. Be present. Be where your feet are. I actually have that written on my desk. I have it written at home on my desk for my family, and I have it written at the office on a Post-it note. Be there. Be present. Be where your feet are. And it's so easy in this life. How many times we're on our phone? I'm never on my phone, Ed. You know that. But we're completely distracted when we should be in the moment, and we should be present for our colleagues. And even though we're talking about business here and business solutions, this goes to family life as well. You want to be present for your spouse, for your children, for your friends, for your partner. It's so important to be there, be in that moment. And that brings up the story of Brad Lidge, 49-0 in save situations for the Philadelphia Phillies in 2008. You know what a save is? That's when you save a ball game. You prevent the other team from scoring runs in the ninth inning. You lock it down. He was undefeated in that department in 2008, Brad Lidge. And in this situation, the crowd screaming his name, this crowd screaming for the Phillies, Brad Lidge is in that moment. I said, I asked him, because I was right there. I'm right behind him. You just can't see me. But all right, I was in the dugout, but I was close by. But when he said, no, the crowd focused me. The crowd helped me lock in and allowed me to do my job with precision. And he had a catcher who was running into his arms right there after Brad Lidge struck out Eric Hinsky of the Tampa Bay Rays to win the World Series for the Phillies. That's Carlos Ruiz. Chooch, they called him. That was his nickname. And they were a team. And he was in the moment with Carlos Ruiz. He was present. He was there. And no amount of cheering, screaming was able to distract him. Why? Because he was active listening. He was active listening. Even though there were no words spoken, you can still listen with signals, curveball, fastball, whatever that, or sometimes, not with Brad Lidge, but sometimes the catcher will come out to the mound. That did not happen there. So, question for you. What is active listening? What is, can we get some, I can't see the chats. Probably better for me. Get them off. But put in there, what is active listening? Eddie, you got anybody?
Yeah, but I know we're going to get a bunch on this one, and we got a prize if the person who gets the closest to the answer.
Oh, then I'll
So
tell you.
we got a prize for active listening. So, oh, it's funny. We're getting a little delay on some of the previous answers.
Okay. I'll take whatever you want.
Teresa's really close. Teresa, you need to finish that. There's a little more to your answer. I don't want to give it away to everybody. Let's see who else. What else? Active listening. Teresa's getting close. Nick wants to answer live. No, Nick. No, just kidding.
Nick wants to answer live. Nick knows. Nick's
Susan
an active listener. So is Ed Wallace.
So Teresa said listening to understand, and she's close. Carissa said listening without the intent to respond, but generally understand. I think Carissa, I think she's going to get the prize, but we'll probably provide one, Teresa, too. And Susan said be present and open and curious to receive what others are saying. Let's see, there's a couple more coming in here, Michael.
Awesome. Oh, my Those gosh, are great Michael. Definitions.
Tom Del Monte is on here. Boy, I haven't heard
Del Monte.
He said, listening without the intention of just getting to what I want to say. And Diane says, being present and not distracted. So we've got some great, let me see if there's one more. Oh my gosh, there's tons. Phil, getting your full attention. Analia says, listen to learn. Joshua, active listening is making a conscious effort to hear and understand someone else. And the grand answer is?
Listening to understand and not to talk next. Listening that I have a guy that I used to work with, I'm not going to say his name, who used to finish my sentences. And I'd be talking and he would literally say the same words as I was saying. It used to drive me nuts. Just listen, back off a little bit, understand what is coming at you so you can aptly respond after the person gives you their answer or what they were trying to say. But all your answers are great. It's spot on. And it has to do with being there and being present. And it's so easy not to go to your phone, but certainly we check out of conversations where we think, I got this down. But the fact is, especially in a work environment, especially in the office or wherever you might be doing your work, active listening is so important because how many times you have to say, I'm sorry, what was that again? Wait, one more time? How many times? And Ed, I know we were talking before we went on about active listening in my career, and I have to active listen 3 times over, and it's not easy to do. One, I'm on the set for pregame or postgame. I'm listening to the analyst who's by my side and the point that he or she is making about the game. I'm listening to the producer in my earpiece who's telling me, shut up and take a commercial break, or we're going to kill this particular segment, or we're going to kill that, and we're going to put this graphic up so everyone can see it, or the Don Mattingly sound is ready now, or the Jalen Hurts sound tossed to his interview. So I'm listening to them, and I'm listening to whomever's talking on the set, whether it's Ricky Batalico, Ruben Amaro Jr., or Ben Day. I'm listening to all of them, and I'm listening to the stage manager who, like Brad Lidge was listening to Chooch, who's giving me hand gestures, you got to break now, or 30 seconds left in this tape piece, or swing to camera two. So there's three conversations going on at the same time. I'm just asking you to listen to one of them. Actively listen to one so that you don't have to say, I think this is the key. You don't have to say, I'm sorry, repeat that. Can you repeat that? I can't tell you how many times I have to do it, but I'm listening to three conversations at one time, for goodness sakes. So active listening is listening to understand and not to talk next. I think that's really, really important.
And Michael, we only have that moment with that person or that group, right? Just like Lidge only has that one moment when Chooch puts the sign down. So we want to actively listen. We want to be in the moment. We want to grow through disappointment. And then we also want to not take anything for granted. Why don't you tell us about this one?
That's an easy one. We're taught this from the moment we're kids. Don't take anything for granted. Don't take anyone for granted. That is so important. And if I leave you with anything today, it's don't take anything for granted, because we got a finite time here. Who's this handsome man right here? Look at that megawatt smile. Who is that guy? Huh? I'll tell you who it is. You ready? That's my father. That's Jeremy Allen Barkann. And I don't know if you saw the show Mad Men with John Hamm, but Dad was a madman. He was in advertising, automotive advertising. He worked for Doyle Dane Bernbach on the Porsche, Audi, Volkswagen account. He'd get mad if I say he worked on the account. He was in charge of the account. The same at McCaffrey and McCall. He was in charge of Mercedes-Benz account. The same at Deutsch. Donnie Deutsch. His dad had a firm called Deutsch. And it was actually Deutsch Dworen and became Deutsch. And my dad was on the Buick account, Pontiac Buick account for Deutsch. And when I was a kid, he'd take me right here. I don't know if you know where that is, but that's Queens, New York. That is Shea Stadium, built as the new home of the New York Mets, born in 1962. See those little tiles on the outside? When I saw those tiles, I'd get crazed because I love those tiles, and they're colored orange and blue with the colors of the New York Mets. Yes, I'm a Phillies fan, everybody, but I grew up as a Mets fan. I can't help it. It's the way it goes. So Dad would take me there and see those seats by first base. It was so cool because the Jets played there as well, and they could slide those stands around so that they would be formed for a football game, and then the Jets would play. And the Mets, just 7 years old in 1969, they won the World Series. They beat the Baltimore Orioles 4-1, and no one thought they could do it. And they were called the Amazing Mets. They were absolutely amazing. So that's Queens, New York. It's right near LaGuardia Airport. And there's Citi Field, the stadium that sits there now on the left. You see Citi Field. If you go a little bit to the right, we're looking at the USTA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center. And I spent 18 years there for USA Network and NBC Sports covering the US Open Tennis Championships. And that was as great or better than any Olympics I could have covered, because this was kind of like a mini Olympics every single year with athletes, tennis players coming from all over the world. And that's a look at the grounds as they are now. They added about 25 acres since the last time I was there. And then the cursor's over on the right. You see that big ball? That is actually a 3-story unisphere. It is a replica it is a globe, and it welcomed fans that came in, you ready, for the 1964 World's Fair. These were the grounds of the 1964 World's Fair. It was up there for a year. Shea Stadium was built just after that because the Mets were playing in the Polo Grounds when they started. But you could take the 7 train from Manhattan right out. You see the train tracks just to the right of Citi Field, and then you could go see the Mets play, or in late August into September, you could go over to the tennis center and see the matches. But that unisphere where that globe is welcomed everybody to the World's Fair, and then later it still stands, later to the US Open. Really, really cool. So 2008, Citi Field's being built. It was my last year at the Open, and I'm coming out by cab from Penn Station in Manhattan, and I see Citi Field in construction, standing next to Shea Stadium, and I say to the cab driver, you know what, give me a once around. Can you go past that ballpark there? And so he does. He loops around. We go around Citi Field. Didn't look like that, but it was close. And the Mets wouldn't play in it until the following year. And of course, my phone's on my seat. I picked up my phone, called my dad to tell him, Dad, where do you seat? I couldn't call him. He had passed away 6 weeks earlier, 78 years of age, multiple myeloma. And, it was a gut punch. It was an epic gut punch because he was a Marine. He was my hero. He had a great sense of humor, and you see the smile. He was just an amazing guy. He really was. And we all go through loss, but and we all know we're going to go through loss at some point, but you don't know when you're going to go through it. And it's so important to not take anyone for granted that's in your life. And obviously, it goes to family first, whether it's your spouse, partner, or your children, or even your little doggy. But when you're talking about at the office, same thing happens. I've lost colleagues. It's a terrible thing. I've lost them suddenly, and heaven forbid that you're in any kind of discord with them, and then they're gone. It does happen, unfortunately, but that's why you just never take anyone for granted. And I think so many of you on this call are leaders, are bosses. And I'm going to get to this number. You know what? This number, I'll get back to the bosses thing because this number is unbelievable. You know what? We all whine in our lives. Oh, nothing's going right for me. At least I could win the lottery. You know what the chances are of winning the Powerball? 1 in 292 million. That's the chance to win the Powerball. 1 in 292 million. You see this number below? That is 1 in 400 trillion. 1 in 400 trillion. You know what that number represents? Ed, do you know? You know, Ed.
I
Okay,
know
don't
because
say
we practiced, but I wouldn't have
it. Okay.
known.
We didn't practice. This is the first time I've met you, Ed. 1 in 400 trillion is the chance that any of us, I don't care whether you're in Calcutta, you're in France, or you're right here in this office, the chance of any of us being born. 1 in 400 trillion. So when you bemoan your lot in life or you're having a bad day, you think, why can't I even win a scratch off? You won the lottery. 1 in 400 trillion? Are you kidding me? How about all the people that weren't born? My goodness. And think about what has to happen all the way down to the beginning of time going forward. You got to avoid that saber-toothed tiger. You got to watch out for the Revolutionary War. Then your parents have to meet. Then the right sperm's got to hit the right egg. And then here we are, 1 in 400 trillion. I think that's a lottery win. I'll take that over 1 in 292 million any day of the week. But what I was saying before, here's your dash. Eddie, that's wrong. It's supposedly the year of my birth. It should say
Want to be
1975.
1975? You're
1975.
kidding,
You
right?
got that wrong. But 1960 is the year of my birth. And then there's a dash. And then to the right of that, at some point, probably 100 years from now, I'm sure, right, Nick? 100 years from now, there'll be a closing year. And so in between is your dash. It's a small little dash, but you got to get a lot in there in your time here. You got to get a lot in here. And that's a question you have to ask yourselves. How will you embrace your dash? You're going to embrace it on the couch. You're going to embrace it doom scrolling. You're going to embrace it just doing nothing with your days, or are you going to take your life to another level? And whatever that may be is in your hands. It's for you to decide. Got 5 more questions for you. People will perform at their best with a clear sense of purpose when challenged with the following 5 questions. Who do you want to be? How do you want to be perceived? That's a big one. How do you want to, and then there's, how do you want to be perceived by your family and friends? How do you want to be perceived at the office? What are you here for? What's your purpose? What are you here for? What's most important to you in your life? What's most important? And then finally, what will your contribution be? That's to me, that's as the older I get, how do we contribute? How do we make, I know this is cliche, how do we make the world a better place? And we've got our struggles as a society now. What will your contribution be? Those are all great questions. I'd love for you to just jot down the number of the question and give me an answer to the question. And Ed will read some of them off. Who do you want to be? How do you want to be? Not all of them, just pick one and then write, 5 and the answer to what will your contribution be. But one of the things as they do that, Ed, one of the things I was going to say is that when it comes to not taking anyone for granted, I know a lot of the folks watching today are leaders, and people work under them. That's their purview. And I think it's so important. We all need a pat on the back. And I think a lot of times we forget that, even when we're watching, as I do, million-dollar, multi-million-dollar athletes, they don't need a pat on the back. They should do it. Well, they should do it, but human nature is human nature, and you need a pat on the back sometimes. So if you got people under you and things aren't working the way they should, I think it's really important that one, you know their name, two, you have a nice word for them, because that matters. You want to get people to work hard for you. You want to get people to keep coming back and to do things even when you might not be there, to work to their best ability and keep the company going. How about a nice word?
We're getting some answers in here. So
Okay, Eddie.
while Michael and I were filling a little space there, you think about these 5 questions. Think about your dash. Think about winning the lottery, and pick a number and chat in an answer or QA in an answer. And we've got enough time to take about a minute on this. So hopefully we have 3 or 4 answers already. I'm expecting at least 10. So let's just concentrate, pick one, and think about it personally or think about it business wise. But remember, we're all on that continuum of life right now. All of our dashes are still active. So
Active dash.
what are we doing about that dash, Michael? Right? I'm getting a bunch of answers now, so I'm gonna share
Yeah,
a few of
and
these.
you know what? I just want to raise, it's really, Michael, it's so pertinent because many of us as leaders are facing this challenge, how AI is forcing all of us to reconsider how work gets done and how our people and teams play a role in all of it. And these may be great questions to ask people as they start to fear, is my job at risk? Is things are changing? How do I embrace all of this? And these may be great questions to not only ask ourselves, but ask those team members that are operating in fear to maybe
Great
open it
point,
up
Nick.
and get them to embrace it, you
Yeah,
know?
Yeah, that's a great point. And
absolutely.
so you use these questions for things like what's going on with your career in AI or what
Yeah.
direction you want to take. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing that says you cannot pivot on your dash, and there's
Yeah.
nothing that says you can't create a better dash for yourself. I love those points, Nick, and I'm so glad you brought that relevancy of AI into it. There's so many good answers here. Let me see if I can find one.
AI is taking over everything. I'm not even here right now.
You're not there
It's
anymore.
AI.
I'm the
I'm AI.
broadcaster.
Nice
I'm the
to meet you, Bill.
broadcaster. No, Bill said, he wants to be perceived as a tide that lifts all boats. And Gina said she wants to be one of those who forge a path for the next generation and find joy and excitement in the journey, right? The journey of life. Teresa has several great points here. She says intentionality. Susan said, my commitment to live a whole, healthy, vibrant, and purposeful life, accepting the wisdom experiences I gain. So many great things. And there's more and more. And we're going to move to the summary here now. But again, when you have that down day, think about your dash, pull out these questions. We do an awful lot in our training around this topic. And the whole thing is, you're better than you think you are sometimes, and sometimes you're not as good as you think you are. This will ground you and it'll keep you balanced on that dash. So thanks everybody. Appreciate you sharing your thoughts and ideas. Let's jump ahead to Michael's summary, and then we're going to do a little Q&A. Go ahead, Michael.
Okay. Lessons from the locker room to the boardroom. We talked about Dan Jansen, growth through disappointment. We all go through it. Sometimes it's epic disappointment. We don't think we're going to get over it, but we do, and we will. And it's getting over it with a smile and making yourself happy again. And whoever said again, clarity of mission. If you have a clarity of mission, you have to realize sometimes people are going to tell you, you can't play in the sandbox with us anymore. It's a tough thing to hear. It's happened to me. It's happened probably to many of you out there. And that's how you grow, because you have to stay internally strong and really not listen to people who would tell you that you can't do it, because you can. So grow through disappointment. Be there. Be present. Be where your feet are. Be in the moment. Don't be on your phone when someone's talking to you. Understand that you have to listen and be a recipient and listen, actively listen to understand and not to talk next. And then finally, take nobody for granted. Don't take anybody for granted. If they're in your life, there's a reason. It's because to some degree or another, you love them. You darn sure like them. So don't take them for granted. You don't want to be circling around Citi Field and trying to call dad and he's not there, and there are things that are left unsaid, which thankfully was not the case for me. Someone talked about every day, making it happen every day. I love this ad. It's a Nike ad. It's from approximately 1975. And I gave this to my daughter before she left for college. And this is life. There is no finish line. See that runner out there? The loneliness of the long distance runner and this string of telephone poles. There's no finish line. That's the way it is. There's only one finish line. We're a long way from it. There's no finish line in our daily lives. Something goes great for you, that's great. You got one more pole ahead of you that you got to pass. Something doesn't go your way, that's a shame. You got one more pole that's coming up, and you do it because you want to do it. You do it because it invigorates you. You do it because it makes you feel life. And to me, that is the best example. This photo that tells 1,000 words, it's the best example of what we all go through. You're out there because you want to be out there, not because you have to be out there. You're out there to make yourself a success for you. No finish line. Beautiful.
You know what, Michael? Even though we're getting near the finish line for the webinar,
we're halfway through.
There's still no finish line because we got some free stuff for everybody.
Oh, I like that. I like it.
Susan, Carissa, and Teresa, and it's a very interesting spelling of your name, Teresa. Theresia. We're going to reach out to you. You're going to get a signed copy of my book, Business Relationships That Last. So congratulations for your answers. Everybody's answers were great, but those were the ones that we attach prizes to. Grant's going to send everybody the webinar recording. Everybody's going to get the e-version of your new favorite book, Business Relationships That Last. And if you're running a company or in charge of a team or in some sort of leadership position, and you like to explore how Michael might support an upcoming company event or a sales meeting or a retreat, we're calling it 30 Minutes with Michael. So once again, if you want to get 30 minutes with Michael to kick some ideas around, we already have one company on here already who's been talking with Michael about coming and doing a keynote for them. Just email or text Grant. There's his email address. There's his cell phone. Feel free to hit him up at any point. We have a few minutes left, and this is your chance to interview the interviewer.
What?
So throw out a question or a comment to Michael. Okay. He's always doing the interviews, Mike. Now you're going to have to be interviewed, okay?
Okay, I'll give it a shot. I don't know.
I don't know if you can do that.
I don't know if I can, Ed. We'll give it a shot.
By the way, while we're waiting for questions, there's been so many great things that got chatted in that I just couldn't pick up because of the amount of time.
You got one in the chat, looks like, from Carissa.
Carissa said, Michael, thank you for your time today and your success. What has been your biggest failure as a leader? Ooh, I should have known that come from Carissa. She's my fave. And how did you learn from it and use it toward your growth and success? So what's your biggest failure and what did you learn and what'd you do about it?
I think my biggest failure really is just to not realize that what I do is a team game. And it's so easy and this is years ago, and it's so easy to say, and it's the worst thing for those working with you who are not on television, saying, it's my face out there. You know what that does to people who are trying to make things happen for a television program, not for you, for a television program. I'm just a cog in the wheel. I'm just a piece of the puzzle. And when stuff goes down, ultimately, it's my responsibility to handle it with aplomb. And if I don't, to me, it's on me. You got to be prepared better. And so it really was it was a learning lesson for me in that the person who is producing a show, person who's writing a show, the stage director, the camera people, anybody who's involved, they're just as important. We're all the same, and we really are. So it's just
got a great question from John. He said, "How do you think AI will change the future of sports broadcasts and journalism?" Whoa.
Well, as I said, this is not me talking. This is AI. I'm in the car right now. It's AI. I thought you meant Allen Iverson for a moment. He already changed.
No, he means AI.
Back in the 2000s. I think that's undetermined. But certainly, if you take it out to its furthest extrapolation, if it's allowed, you this won't be me, and someone will type in a keyboard and let's get the robotic anchor person host ready to go, and boom, I am giving you the sports report. There's every chance that that could happen. Not tomorrow, not next year, but they're looking for ways to save money. That's a way.
One for you, Mike. Gina, I don't know if you're going to know this answer. Gina asked, who
Gina.
is an athlete you'd suggest high school students can study for leadership lessons? Not perfection, but good examples for learning. I mean, I don't know if you're prepared for that one.
Well, leadership lessons, I'll tell you what. You ready for this? Have them.
We need an athlete. That's what she wants, an athlete.
An athlete? I
Yeah.
thought you were a high school student who wants to become a leader. That's not the question? Maybe I
What
misunderstood.
athlete would you suggest a high school student study for leadership lessons? Who could they model
Oh,
themselves
okay,
after?
okay. I would say that what comes to mind fast is Jalen Hurts. I would say Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. I would say a guy like Tom Brady. When you're a quarterback, that's the most difficult position to play, arguably, in sports. And the great quarterbacks, they don't just know the play from their perspective. They know what the linemen are supposed to do. They know what the running backs are supposed to do behind them. They know what the wide receivers they know all the routes, everything, because they have to know. So if something goes down, if a guy misses a block, they know where a receiver or a running back is supposed to be. So I would say someone like Tom Brady, who I know is retired, but you take a guy like Patrick Mahomes, quarterback, a guy like we talked about, Lionel Messi. Here's a guy who was a star, even though he didn't score either of the goals yesterday in getting Argentina to the final of the World Cup. He assisted, he assisted. I mean, you don't get to be a star assisting. Oh yeah, so you got to talk to people who can facilitate and who can also realize the best description I can give to anybody is no job is too big or too small. And that's what I would say about Nick Rocco and Ed Wallace and Grant Wallace. No, if you got to shovel bleep, you shovel bleep. If you got to be ready with the tux on, and that's what you're going to do. So I think that's the most important thing. Get it done. And the quarterbacks are leaders that do get it done. Captains of a hockey team. A guy like Danny Briere, who I'm going to talk to tonight in Margate in front of a live audience. These are leaders who subvert their own personality for the success of the team. It's tough to do. It really is. We all want our credit, but do you want your credit at the expense of the team? Parentheses, the company doing well. That's the question you have to ask.
Michael, I love that insight, and I love the idea that you're the face. I've walked into restaurants with you. You don't walk past anybody. And we'll go back with Ellen and we'll sit down and it'll be a half an hour, but you will not walk past anybody if they look up at you when you walk into that restaurant. So I think you embody the stuff we're talking about here today. And give us a quick pitch for your foundation and then we'll sign off.
TheBarkhanFoundation.org. I want to leave you with the website, TheBarkhanFoundation.org. We have our golf outing coming up, our annual golf outing. It's the 15th coming up in September at Aronimink, which played host to the PGA Championship in May. And what we do is we give funds, gift cards, financial assistance to people who are under it. You know what I mean? People are going through life trauma, whether, God forbid, loss of a child, loss of spouse, loss of house. Wait, hang on. I'm just getting a text from my wife, who's also on here. You just said Ellen. 28th golf outing. 28th golf. The 15th as Healing Hearts. But we had a golf outing prior to that where we would give money to charities of our choice, and then we established our own charity. So it's the 15th under that. And it's something that's been a blessing for us to do. Ed, you've been so good to be on our board. I love you for that. It's been amazing to give back to the community. And you see, like that little girl on the left, and it just breaks my heart. The families, what people go through, and if you have, then give back. if you're able. The BarkannFoundation.org. Love to see you at the golf outing. Aronimink is tremendous. And we're almost full, but we have a
All
couple.
kinds of things to volunteer. You're not contributing. So yeah, check out the website. And we're right up in time, Michael. So I'll let you sign off.
Wait, I'm not done.
Well,
You kidding me?
I think you have to be.
Wait,
People have to go
it's
back to
just
work.
all right, Eddie. Fine. Thank you. A special thanks to Nick Aracco and Ed Wallace and Grant Wallace. And let me tell you something. Achieve Next. You think about that. Achieve Next. What a company. What are you going to achieve next? I think that's so great. It's emblematic of how they think, and I know it's emblematic of how you think. And I know your time is very special and precious to you. So thanks for spending it with us this afternoon. Really, really appreciate it. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks, Nick. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.